Hi, this is an open letter for Senator Ted Cruz, and this is in relation to the so called gas attack in Syria and the response that President Trump has made. This is an actual letter that I sent to Senator Ted Cruz. Thank you, Senator, for your messages and all you do for the great state of Texas. I am Texas through and through. However, Senator, I have deep concern about the events of these last few days. Senator, I am a twice Iraqi Freedom veteran and an enduring freedom veteran, and I am deeply troubled by this strike on Assad's airbase. And if you permit me, I will explain. We must never forget the lessons of the past that we learned in Iraq and Afghanistan. One of these lessons that we learned was that the insurgents, jihadis, terrorists, and Islamic Fundamentalist fighting militias, what they do is that they use population centers such as hospitals, schools, marketplaces, sites of antiquity, etc., to hide personnel, command and control, and weapons munitions. They do this in order to use the population and populace as a shield to prevent attack on themselves and their assets. And the reason they do this is twofold: protection of the aforementioned assets, but also if you make the choice of destroying the terrorists and or their assets, they can use the deaths of civilians as a PR campaign against you by saying you only bomb innocent civilians. What I am hearing from my sources is this: Assad's intelligence told him that the rebels had a weapons munitions cache in the building they bombed. Assad had a choice: either allow the rebels to have their weapons and continue to fight by not bombing the area where there is a local population, or go ahead and bomb the munitions storage to mitigate the rebels' ability to fight and perhaps flee the area. He chose to bomb using conventional high explosive ordnance. Now, unknowingly to Assad, the rebels had sarin gas in their stockpile. When the bombs blew, it ruptured the containers of the gas. Now, Bashir Assad, though he has been brutal, did not use gas on innocent civilians. Sarin gas is very easy to produce and produce very quickly. All of the gassing that has occurred in Syria has been at the hands of the rebels, al-Nusra, ISIS, and al-Qaeda affiliates, but not the Assad regime. President Trump made his decision on an emotional appeal and not based on fact. Senator, just because a plane is flying overhead and there is a release of nerve agent on the ground is purely circumstantial. It would be like saying, well, John McCain first went to Berlin and trashed the president over there in a speech, and then went to Syria and came back, and now suddenly there's a gas attack. Now, is that circumstantial, or is there something to it? Sir, things are not as they appear. And for some ungodly reason, there are those that have for the last 8 years been pushing hard to have war with Russia. Russia will have to respond because they are treaty bound with Syria. And they have been that way for many, many decades, going back to the old Soviet Union. I believe you are a man of faith. You come from a Pentecostal background, so I will speak to you as a fellow Pentecostal. All the pieces are now in place for the Gog-Magog war as prophesied in Ezekiel 37 and 38. One of the things that is interesting to note is that God puts a hook in the jaw of Gog, G-O-G, and pulls him down to war. Now, this tells me that Gog is not wanting to go to war, and as a fish is caught on a hook, will fight hard to escape. This is what is happening now with Russia. They are trying very hard to not escalate into a shooting war with the U.S. or Israel. Putin, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, was raised as a Christian. His father was a communist, but his mother was a devout Christian, and she raised him as a Christian. And he knows the prophecy and the outcome of that prophecy. And he is doing all he can to avoid that outcome. But he may have no choice, as he is treaty bound to Syria and Iran. Senator, we need to walk this path very carefully, because the straw is about to break the camel's back. If we go into a shooting war with Russia, the U.S. will be all but annihilated, and Russia will be decimated. And the only powers left will be that of the EU and China, and Israel will have lost its best friend and ally. Thank you, Senator.